a lot of people don't know this, but the Zen Academy Genesis drop was an open edition.
That's
back
right.
in 2021.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And it was 0.03 ETH.
Yeah.
10x. Not that we care about price. And
20x, not that we care about price.
Oh shit, of course. When you came on at 10x, but it's now up even further from there with Zen Chest and everything you got going on.
But we don't care about price. Yeah.
We don't care about price. Not that Not there's anything wrong with it. If anybody gets the Seinfeld reference, that's what I feel like I'm doing right now. I mean, not that we care about price, but 20x. Hello everyone, GM. Welcome back to another episode of Overpriced JPEGs, the very first 2023 Overpriced JPEGs episode. We ended the year with Zeneca, so of course we are going to start the year with the one and only Zeneca 33. Hello, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I feel like there needs to be like an air horn when you said the very first 2023.
I need to get a sound thing.
Yeah, I have one, but I have no idea what these sound buttons are. And if I press one, I don't know if it's going to come through. So we could risk it, but probably better shouldn't.
Well, that actually gets us perfectly to the housekeeping we need to do at the top of this episode, which is just a couple of updates. You've got ZenDaily starting soon. Is that why you have invested in a sound bank? It
is a Rodecaster, which is this massive device that you plug all your audio stuff into. But yeah, on Monday, I don't know what date it is, 9th or something, Emily and I are starting a daily Twitter space Monday to Friday, every single day, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 1 hour. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. It's going to be
What can
exciting.
the people expect from your daily Twitter space?
So we want it to be slightly different to all there's a lot of daily Twitter spaces. So it's like when we were deciding to do it, we're like, hey, should we do it? And then how can we do it and not just be copying others, because we don't want to just rehash the same stuff over and over. And then we thought about like, what can we add and put our own spin on it? And I think just inherently our voices are just going to be different in tone to anyone else's. Education will obviously be a primary focus. Education, information, entertainment. That's like the three pillars of Zen Academy. We'll run through like quickly the news of the day and stuff like that, because you just have to if you do a daily Twitter space. But we have some segments in mind, like doing deep dives in historical projects. Like there are so many people that join the space today. They don't know about like hash masks or mooncats or curio cards or, all of these projects, even from like was it Arabian camels that came out after Bored Apes and Bulls on the Block. And it might just be fun to dig back and go and like educate people about some of the previous things in the space and then touch on, stuff like that. And
I love that. You should have Maria Bajwa on. She and I have talked about having her come on OPJ at some point to do something like that.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
OG in the space, and she's just so smart and fun to listen to. And so that's going to be my recommendation. Are you having guests?
We will.
I assume?
We will. Yeah. For the first couple of weeks, no, we're just going to get our feet wet and figure it out. But we'll probably get guests on for, 10, 20 minutes a show rather than take over the whole hour, because an hour will go by quickly. So,
yeah. Do y'all realize what's happening over at Ledger? That the #1 leader in digital asset security has teamed up with Tony Fadell, builder of the iPod, to revolutionize the experience of owning digital assets securely. They're doing this with Ledger STAX. This is the most premium product to date, and it's so user-friendly. Ledger STAX is a palm-sized device with a new e-Ink 2 display on the cover and around the spine, meaning you can view and confirm transactions at a glance. You can also customize your ledger by displaying your favorite NFT on the cover, even when the device is off. Pair your new Ledger STAX with your Ledger Live to manage, earn, and hodl all your NFTs and over 500 coins. This space needs sleek user experiences, our iPod moment, and that's what Ledger has set out to do here without compromising their core promise of security. Keep your digital assets in the safest place they can be, a Ledger STAX wallet. Trust yourself with Ledger STAX and go to shop.ledger.com to pre-order your Ledger STAX now. They're shipping in April. And if you use the link in our show notes to pre-order now, you'll be helping the show as well. Thank you. That's great. And my updates are that you're going to be getting updates. So thank you so much. Continued to everybody who has bought an OPJ NFT. It was so fun over the holiday to see buys continue to trickle in. And now I'm like the biggest open edition fan of all time. I'm like, this is the best. So it looks like next week I'm going to record a podcast with Kit Kodik, who is my partner on this. Really excited for people to hear from Kit because he's a big part of this whole thing that's happening. And so it'll be great for folks to get to know him. We will also have several announcements. Again, we're trying to get a couple other things locked in before then, but if we don't, it's fine. We've got enough that we can go with. So we'll kind of make a couple of announcements about it when we record next week. And then the question is, will it air next week or will it air the following week? So thank you for everyone's patience. But next 2 weeks, stuff coming out, and you'll get to meet Kit, my partner, who is fantastic
amazing.
in Liquid, talking about Liquid Collections. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Have you guys talked?
Yeah, I've spoken to him a few times. He's in Zen Academy. He jumped on some of our founders' calls, and then we jumped on a couple of other calls. And his experience and background, and he's just a great person. He's awesome. He's awesome.
He has been so great to work with. Liquid Collections has been great to work with. And, I was like, there's so many places I could take OPJ. There's so many things I'm excited about. But what I've realized is like the thing that makes me the most excited is just great partners. So that's why when I find somebody like Kit, who I've been advising Liquid Collections for a number of months. We've been working together in various capacities for months. And we had this opportunity to do something bigger. It was like a no-brainer. I was like, great, like let's just rush and make this happen however we can, because I don't want to lose the opportunity to work with him. So excited for that. And with that, let's get into all the good stuff. So back in 2023, we're back here. It's now 2023. Steve Aoki sold most of his NFTs, and so now the market's doing great.
The bottom is, it was everyone. He sold, I think, hundreds of NFTs in late December, and people were joking about, is this a bottom signal? It turns out it was a bottom signal.
The bottom was in. It's a debate. Is Steve Aoki or Jim Cramer a better top/bottom signal?
Got to be for NFTs. It's got to be Aoki.
It's got to be Aoki. Kramer's good for crypto though, and most equities. There's actually a whole Twitter account that's like inverse Kramer or something, and it just like literally makes bets anytime Kramer tweets about something.
That's amazing.
You can track its like success as a investing account. It's very funny. No, but truly, even in December, I will say like there was like movement, like things were happening. It's I find it almost like there's this dissonance between what seems to be a totally global consensus that 2023 is going to be a very painful year, and then the activity and the energy that I feel in the community. They are not matching. Now, I will say, like, we're in the process of getting sponsors. Like, it is hard, right? The market is not like booming from a corporation's just like throwing money out. But yeah, the energy feels back.
Yeah, it does 100%. And you're right. It started late December, definitely. It wasn't like a January, like in 2022, it was like January 1 started and the bull run kicked off. This year it seemed to start like a week early, and it was just like a lot of collections were just slowly pumping. Pudgy Penguins had one incredible month.
They flipped doodles. Pudgy flipped doodles.
Yeah, which is wild.
I never thought I'd see the day. They flipped CloneX?
Yeah, CloneX they're on the struggle street. I think they're like 5 ETH right now or something, which is, but yeah, like January was always gearing up to be a big month. Yuga had stuff happening. Doodles had stuff happening. There was other stuff happening I'm forgetting, but it's great. A lot of art drops as well. They've been going really well.
Yes, which we're actually going to talk about because I think that ties into, there was like a bunch of open edition artists artists did a bunch of open edition stuff that seemed almost connected to these announcements around like the OpenSea contract change. So when we get into that in a minute, I want to throw out some statistics here. So the trade volume, NFT trade volume was back to like basically 2-month highs over the holidays. So that there was definitely like just volume back. There was an uptrend in daily active users on OpenSea. The daily NFT volume was holding really steady into the new year. Now, some of this, I don't know, to what extent do you think in December this was like wash trading and tax loss harvesting by folks in this activity we saw in December?
I would say quite a lot. I think tax loss harvesting is, in 2021, we saw a ton of it because it was just a crazy bullish year and a lot of people had gains to offset. 2022, less so, because the joke was who is tax loss harvesting, who made money this year. Yeah. But there was certainly some of it going on. And wash trading was obviously a huge thing because Blur announced their Airdrop 3, which was incentivizing bids and accepting of bids. And with zero royalty collections, zero marketplace fees, there are definitely people abusing that. But that has hopefully stopped now.
So, and Blur, this is another little update. Blur has changed their structure a bit in January, which should probably wipe out the wash trading. Can you speak to that a bit?
Yeah, so they implemented mandatory 0.5% royalties across the board, which is mitigating the wash trading. it'll be interesting to see how, like, the plan is to slowly increase that percentage over time. But it's almost like an attempt to find the equilibrium between traders and collectors and what they're willing and comfortable to pay, and also ensuring that creators can be rewarded for their royalties. And it's, the whole royalty thing is not perfect and not ideal, and it's like a lose-lose situation almost. It's hard to please everyone, but it's I guess an experiment, another step in a direction, and we'll see how the market reacts.
Interesting. Well, so on that front, obviously folks who have been tracking this conversation, which if you're listening to this podcast, you have likely been tracking this conversation around OpenSea and royalties. Obviously where we landed there was future projects. If you're a new project, if you would like your royalties honored on OpenSea, then you need to have a contract that essentially blacklists marketplaces that will accept zero royalties. And that went into effect January 2nd. So now moving forward, if you are launching an NFT collection, you need to make sure you're using a contract that blacklists non-zero royalty accepting. Wait, what? You understand? Blacklist zero royalty accepting marketplaces.
Honestly, I was late last night. I was digging into this, and I was like, I was so confused, and it's so crazy that like I am part of the Blur team. I have written in depth about royalties. I've been tracking this for months, and I don't know what the hell's going on. Like, I have so much sympathy for anyone out there. And as like a collection owner myself, it's it's complicated, and I hope the situation resolves itself one way or another in the next several months, just to get everyone on sort of like an even playing field again.
Do you think is the confusion like people not knowing what line of code they need to use, like where they need to put it, with the timeline in which they need to do it, or do you think the solution is just fundamentally too complicated that it will need to change? Both.
I think the people not knowing what code to implement, the deadlines, what the deadlines mean, which marketplaces you have to block, which ones you can allow. Different marketplaces have different rules. Like Blur will enforce royalties if you use a block list and allow trading on Blur or OpenSea and other ones. I think OpenSea won't enforce royalties unless you block X, Y, and Z marketplaces. And it's complicated to stay on top of. And the solution is also obviously not perfect right now because this is where we're at. So, yeah.
Are you in favor of the blacklisting, whitelisting, that as a solution broadly, and it just needs to be uniform?
Yeah, I think so. I don't love it from a decentralization perspective, but I think we've already pivoted, and this has been happening for a long time, into two different types of NFTs, centralized NFTs and decentralized NFTs. And the maximalists will say that it's not even an NFT if it's centralized. It should be decentralized. It's crypto. It's the heart and soul of this space. However, when you look at it through the lens of companies and projects building brands and IP and community and delivering utility and value and events, it's already centralized. So it kind of makes sense for them to go a step further and implement some code to protect it to an extent. So I think that the future is, again, both. We'll see centralized and decentralized, and we just need a clear, standardized system for everyone to use if they want to implement some sort of blacklist. And we don't have that yet. I think we're making strides in the right direction. And I'm optimistic that we get there soon.
I think there's a valid debate to be had of like, is pure decentralization the heart of this space, or is pure creator empowerment the heart of the space? And if you're somebody who came in through Bitcoin or crypto and that ethos, you're almost certainly in the former camp. But if you came in because you like artists and culture and art, like there's a chance you're in the latter camp.
Yeah.
And I think that's a valid debate. Understanding that we're on a spectrum in any case, like the proposal on the right hand side here around blacklisting is not about entire centralization, right? I think the ideal is there is some sort of decentralized, there's some sort of like DAO committee structure that is determining marketplaces that get blacklisted, that are independent operators, et cetera, et cetera. But that is sort of at the heart of this. And I think I increasingly lean pro creator and give up a little bit of decentralization. But you're right. We'll have both, right?
Yeah.
Both will exist. I don't know how connected these two things were. For some reason, like in my doc here, it like seems like they're connected. So Manifold, which is obviously a platform through which you can launch NFTs and smart contract code, etc. Manifold tweeted a reminder, which seemed to be very helpful for folks, about the OpenSea policy and saying like, hey, remember, if you want to get listed in OpenSea as a new collection moving forward, you need to have this code, you need to have these blacklists. And apparently off of that, it spurred a bunch of creators to launch these like open edition mints. There's a connective tissue here. I didn't follow it in real time. Did you?
I did not follow it in real time because I took a lot of time off over the break, but I know that open editions were like starting to take off late last year, like even November, December. But it definitely seems like the January 2nd deadline, the Manifold tweet, and just like the momentum, we've seen like a ton of open editions in the last 10 days. And it's awesome, I think. I think, it's a great way for artists to release their art and get it into the hands of more collectors. And there's the possibility to do fun burn mechanics now through Manifold. So the whole issue of oversupply that a lot of people are concerned with in open editions, like, oh, what if people mint 100,000 of them and then the value, well, then it's like, well, for the next one, you have to burn 50 of them to get one. And there's interesting mechanics to be at play. So I think artists are having fun with it. Collectors are having fun with it. It's just great. Yeah.
It's fun. I minted a fuck render open edition, which is still going on. So if folks want to get their hands on a fuck render open edition, it's available now on Manifold. We'll put the link.
Nice.
Did you participate in any of this? I know you were basically off, so it sounds like
I was basically off. I did get a couple. I got a Rachel Ryle piece. She did a Christmas Tree Rex piece, I believe it was called, which is a Tyrannosaurus Rex at Christmas, which was fun. And there were one or two others that mostly when people posted in the Zen Academy Discord, or I got a DM and I was like, oh, that looks cool, yeah. But I wasn't on top of all of the incredible, because there were a lot of fantastic drops that, yeah.
There's a great thread here we'll put in the show notes as well that is like a list of a lot of the open edition stuff. I don't know if all of it is still minting, probably not, but some of it probably is. So there's still opportunities to grab some. Yeah, I love this. I think it was like a fun holiday thing that artists were like, here we go, like come do it, grab your piece, let's go. And again, big open edition fan myself now as an open edition NFT creator.
A lot of people don't know this, but the Zen Academy Genesis drop was an open edition.
That's right.
In 2021.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And it was 0.03 ETH.
Yeah.
10x, not that we care about price. And
20x, not that we care about price.
Oh shit, of course. When you came on at 10x, but it's now up even further from there with Zen Chest and everything you got going on.
But we don't care about price. Yeah.
We don't care about price. Not that there's anything wrong with it. If anybody gets the Seinfeld reference, that's what I feel like I'm doing right now. I mean, not that we care about price, but 20x.
I love that.
Okay, this was like my fun entertainment. Not that it's fun, and heart goes out to everybody who gets scammed on these things, but Logan Paul CryptoZoo CoffeeZilla scandal. Is it CryptoZoo? Is that what it was called?
I think CryptoZoo, so. Yeah.
I just got thrown off because that's CZ as is CoffeeZilla CZ. So my brain just started short-circuiting, maybe I'm making things up.
No.
Did you follow this? Did you watch the documentary?
I didn't watch the documentary. I read CoffeeZillas. I was like, CZs. I can't say CZ. Because there's another CZ, obviously, Binance.
Yeah, there's Binance, of course. Yeah.
I read his Twitter threads and like the responses, and just I got like the very high level view, and then but you watched it, right?
I watched the documentary. I think it was like literally Christmas Eve. Like I like woke up, I like slept in. It was Christmas Eve. It popped on my feed, and I was like, absolutely, this is what I'm doing this morning. It was good. I mean, like we can get into the substance of it in a minute, but like the doc was like, you're like, this is entertaining, TV to the extent that YouTube is TV. I think as with everything, to make it entertaining and to really max out on the entertainment means that you maybe lose a little bit in comprehensiveness or like in like pure truth, which isn't to say that I don't side with CoffeeZilla in this, because I think I do, but I'll maybe call out a couple moments that I do think I'm like, okay, well, it feels like we're like cherry picking here a little bit. The upshot is basically Logan Paul announces that he's launching a project called CryptoZoo. I guess this was early last year, maybe it was even 2021. It was like when things were like popping. It may have been 2021.
Yeah.
And he had obviously been involved in crypto and been buying NFTs up to that point, and was known and obviously just culturally is connected to a certain corner of crypto NFT land. And on his podcast, he like really went hard at least once or maybe more, like talking about this project that he had coming up that he had put $500,000 into, and or 300,000, whatever it was, like spent all this money on, millions of dollars, and that was going to be sick, and it was like a fun game, and then you were also going to make money. It was CryptoZoo. You had people sink a lot of money into this thing, and like nothing about it worked or has ever worked. Like even the most basic promises of it didn't work. Like it's not even like, oh, the tokenomics failed, it's clearly a Ponzi, whatever. Like even the basic, you could transfer this for a this didn't work. And then it gets weirder from there, where there's all this blame being passed around, right? Like the dev, it turns out, is like a chronic con artist who has just lied about his whole history, said he went to MIT, said he worked for the State Department. Like all of that has turned out to be false, but he was an advisor on this project, and the dev said he was never paid. Whatever. It just gets like messier and messier, and I don't have to rehash the whole thing. It's maybe worth checking out. It to me, like my upshot was like, Logan Paul, make people right. You have so much money, like make these holders right. You have not even remotely delivered on this project. So when I see Logan going after CoffeeZilla being like, this isn't true, you got this one wrong, man, I sort of have no sympathy for it, because I'm like, let's say this isn't even your fault. Let's say you were a victim of like a bad team or something or whatever. You're a multimillionaire. Make whoever holds this right, done. Like it's sort of not a question to me. But again, I do think like there's a very salacious moment where you see a tweet exchange. I'm sorry, not tweet exchange, a text exchange between Logan Paul and one of his advisors. The advisor is saying, this isn't you, man. Like you're not gonna like burn, all these people, or like you're and like you're not a scam artist, whatever he said. It was something along those lines. And Logan Paul responds, no, bro, I am. Like I am that guy. Which of course seems so like, oh my God, this guy, the reformed, quote unquote, reformed influencer actually is willing to like totally scam all of his audience. But in the fuller context, it was, which he doesn't even fully lay out, but if you really think about what the fuller context of that text exchange, he's not necessarily saying that he's willing to scam all of his audience members. So there's things like that where it's so entertaining, but you're like, oh, I think there's maybe a slightly fuller picture here. With that said, totally on the team CoffeeZilla. Logan has just make your holders right. This is such a no-brainer ridiculousness. And then of course, Logan's now saying, because he's been called out, he's going to try and revive the project or whatever, and it's pumping, and
it's crazy. It's up so much.
The villains continue to win, it seems.
And he's trying to sue CoffeeZilla, but also at the same time get CoffeeZilla to come on his podcast. It's very strange.
CoffeeZilla was trying to get him on his show, and then Logan was ignoring those requests, and then like emailed CoffeeZilla like a couple days before New Year's Eve, and was like, come down here for the show. And CoffeeZilla's like, I'm not spending my New Year's coming out for your show. Like after you ignore every request to come and talk about it here, like I've shown what I've shown, like whatever. So, it's like watching a car wreck. Like it is kind of interesting from that standpoint, and I recommend the documentary. It was highly entertaining. Animoca, have you been following what Animoca is doing?
I have not really.
Animoca's making moves. So first, and we covered this a little bit at the end of last year, they announced they're planning to raise a massive metaverse fund. I don't know, X millions of dollars.
Was it?
Yeah, $2 billion. You're right.
1 or 2 billion? I think it might have been 2, and then they changed it to 1 or something like that. But a B number, which is just an insane amount of money, so much money. I actually get nervous. Funds that big, I'm like, how do you like that? It's actually so difficult to deploy that much capital. Like that's, it gives me like SoftBank vibes, where SoftBank had their like vision fund that was such an enabler of WeWork, and because they just had so much money that they would give unreasonable valuations to companies because they just had to deploy capital. So anyways, who knows? I'm not saying that's the case here. Maybe they're going to do it over a more reasonable time frame. But in any case, they've got that going on, which is huge. And then they've announced this Mocaverse project, which is an 8,888 NFT project that's aimed to really create some borders around like the Animoca community. It's going to be offered to Animoca employees, advisors, like people who are personnel within the Animoca world, but then it's also available more raffle style to participants in Animoca projects. So again, we can put the link. There's a long list of like eligible, like if you hold ApeCoin, if you hold basically anything in the Yuga universe, if you hold a cool cat, if you hold a cool pet, if you hold, so there's a combination of tokens like ERC20s and ERC721s that are eligible for these. I think they're called Realm Ticket NFTs. And then everybody who has a Realm Ticket NFT will be entered into a raffle to win one of these actual like Mocha NFTs that will
induct you into the Mocaverse. And, seems like there's going to be a combination of utility and community, and it's great. They're doing what NFTs are built for, which is creating a way, again, to create borders around a community and do interesting things with it and develop your diehards. And I have no thought around it as like an investment, but I think it's a great example of where the world is moving, which is just that most companies, most anythings will have token communities for their diehards. So love to see it. I think they said the goal is to unite the Web3 community through shared purpose and values by allowing holders to exchange ideas, learn, connect, play games, and build the future of Web3. Final question before we move on from this segment, as in this topic, what is the like current feeling on Animoca? Do you have a sense?
I don't have I think it's
positive?
Fairly positive, yeah. I've never heard any sort of crazy FUD about them or anything. Obviously, they seem to have their tentacles out in a lot of projects, and they're kind of everywhere. But yeah, I haven't heard anything bad. So
okay. I think of them positively, but I also feel like I've heard rumblings. But when you're a company of that size and you represent sort of like old world centralized VC power or whatever, and you have your tentacles in a lot of things, I think it's inevitable that there's like skepticism around that, which I get, and hold power to account. But great, okay, I think positively of them as well. The Memeland Mint happened. This was big, long awaited. The founder of 9gag, which is a popular online site that I really didn't know about until NFTs, and then I started tracking potatoes and all the things that they were doing. Talk us through this, Zen.
Yeah, so I wasn't closely following it, but even living under a rock, it was impossible kind of to ignore that this was coming up. It was certainly the most hyped drop of this year, but probably over the last month even. I think since Valhalla was probably the previous one that a lot of people were talking about, but this is even more hyped. So effectively it was collection size 9,999, just under 10K. And in order to get on the list, there are various ways to get on the meme list, they said, the allow list to mint. One of which was holding 3 of the potatoes NFTs, which is a free drop that they launched, I think, in June last year, a long time ago. And those rose to a floor of, I think, close to 3 ETH. Maybe they hit 3 ETH, which kind of signals the value of this, that the market is putting on this captains, this meme list spot. The mint price is 1 ETH, which is high for this market. But again, they've proven themselves by getting a free mint up to 3 ETH that, hey, we can launch a new collection. And so a lot of hype, a lot of anticipation. It was the mint mechanics were really interesting. I don't 100% know exactly how they work. There was some sort of, you had to bid and put your money into a pool and kind of lock it up. And then on Friday, the actual NFTs will be airdropped. So they're not currently out now. So we haven't seen any secondary market action. But that was like the big thing that happened yesterday. And people like put so much gas in because there was a meme list. And then if you had 3 potatoes, you could mint. But then there was like an allocation for a first come, first serve spot if you had just a single potato or I think something else, where obviously with this much hype at a 1 ETH mint price that people were predicting that the captains would be like, I don't know, 7 to 10 ETH or something, people gunned the gas. And I think it was in a matter of blocks that it sold out. So
I missed the boat on this so hard in that I actually was following Memeland early. Like they did a first MVP drop, was like their initial
4.2 ETH.
It was like, wasn't it like the I'm the real MVP? It was like the Kevin Durant quote or whatever, like
something
who's
like
the real
that,
MVP, something like that. It was Meme, which is in keeping with the vibe of 9gag, and then that's of course why they've launched Memeland as the name of their project. So I was like following the MVP thing, and then was like following potatoes before potatoes launched, and I just missed it. Like I was like, I don't really understand what the value prop is here. I think I can be too logical about this stuff and not just like lean into the meme factor enough. But like, so then potatoes was dropping, and potatoes was a free mint, as you said, and like I didn't get it, and then even as it was pumping a little bit, I was like, I still just like don't really understand, and I was like a little bit hesitant because the site was listing all these advisors of theirs that where it was sort of like walking the line between actual advisors for like Memeland and then advisors just for like 9gag, the site. And it said like Gary Vee and Kevin Rose and all these big names. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And then, of course, I was totally wrong, and potatoes did great, and people obviously found value in it. And then, Memeland itself is doing quite well. And I think they were like that. They did that pivot. Like, I think they were planning on launching Memeland sooner, but as the market was tanking, they realized they had to change tack. And so that's when they did the potatoes. So I love the hustle there. I've since talked to Ray Chan, who's the founder of 9gag and the founder of all this, and really liked him. And I'm like, God, I just missed the boat on this one. Not the first or last time, but I'm glad to see them doing well. Do you understand the fundamental value prop?
So I have a similar story. I didn't quite fully miss the boat, but I didn't get any potatoes, and then I saw them coming up, and I bought some at, I don't know, 0.3 or 0.4 or 0.2 or 0.6, somewhere around there. But it got to a point where I was in too many projects. I'm always in too many. And I was like, I went through this like Marie Kondo phase. I just need to exit so many NFTs where I can't keep up with, like, you had to stake them to grow them and anything like that. It's like, I can't stay on top of it anymore. So I need to, cull down. And unfortunately, they just didn't make the cut. I was ruthless. A lot of things didn't make the cut. It was just one day that I was like, let me just go through and list a bunch of stuff. And they sold, and obviously now I regret it. But I also spoke to Ray, had him on one of our Twitter spaces, and I've been chatting to him for a long time. Actually, we did a partnership with Zen Academy back in June, I think. Really smart guy, really switched on, really community focused. And I have no doubt it'll do well. Memes, like I'm so bullish on memes. How did I miss? Yeah.
I think it's still hard for my sometimes overly logical brain to like wrap my head around that. Before we finish, let me just like look at my notes from what I talked about with Ray, because I feel like they are doing other things.
So on their website, they've got holders.com, TripAdvisor for your Web3 journey, gmgm.com, Web3 OnlyFans, clothes required, Stakeland, Petsland, and I think Memecoin is in the works.
Yeah, I mean, I've now talked to Ray, and I understand their value prop is it's more than just memes. Like, he's using memes, which has always been a part of the 9gag culture. But he's really trying to build out products, community, using NFTs to kickstart a whole business. I don't even know what you just read off some of those things. I don't want to say anything lest there have been anything he kind of spelled out to me that isn't public. I kind of doubt that there was, but I'm always like nervous, and I feel like I didn't ask, and I don't want to now like blow anything up. But yeah, there's clearly like a whole bunch of products they're building out on the backs of this, and I think it's really interesting. Funny enough, he's based in Hong Kong, and one of the most interesting parts of our conversation was talking about the different entrepreneurial cultures in Asia, but then call it kind of China and, China adjacent, and the US and the Western world. And so I might have him on at some point. I would love to. I just have to figure out timing, and things get booked up so quickly. But and would love to talk about that more with him, because I thought he had some really interesting insights there. So congratulations, Memeland. Very happy for you. Happy for Ray. And speaking of projects that are making big moves, that's my segue, I guess. DeGods has moved to ETH, or has announced that they are definitely moving to ETH, and Utes is moving to Polygon. What was your reaction? The biggest thing I was like, Polygon was like, I think moving to ETH makes a lot of sense, but then the decision to split it up and have DeGods on ETH and Utes on Polygon was very interesting. Obviously, Polygon has had like an absolutely insane year. They signed like so many massive companies and brands, and they onboarded a lot, in part because their biz dev team is really great at securing partnerships and offering grant funds, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, just to get people into their ecosystem, which is great if, all works out well. But I just recently, we did ZenMess airdrops. We do this every year for Christmas. We airdrop 12 pieces of art to our collection on the Polygon network. And I was talking to our dev CTO who's doing the airdrops and getting them out there. And he was like, have any of these people actually used Polygon? Because it has some teething issues. And so it's a great network. The gas is insignificant, and it's great for a lot of purposes. But I guess I have some concerns about the scalability of it. When you can it really handle 10 million people actively using the blockchain? Like, they're realistically trying to go for 50 million people. And this actually goes all the way back to one of the first NFT projects I ever got into, Zedron. Their gaming was all done on Polygon. And I remember many times that they had issues with the Polygon network. And, this was 2 years ago. I'm sure the infrastructure has improved, but that's the only concern. Whereas like ETH mainnet is ETH mainnet.
is proven itself over a very long time to just be efficient, reliable. You know, it works the way people expect it to work. Yes, gas might be high, but that is the trade-off for the blockchain that you get. So aside from that, I think it's a great move for Utes to move off. It's an interesting move for Utes to move off Solana, I guess. Like, one of the best things Frank does is generate attention, and this generated a ton of attention. So, you know, say what you want about Solana versus ETH or anything like that, you got a lot of eyes on the project, and I think personally I'm more bullish on ETH long term. So I think long term it's a good move. Yeah,
I agree. Frank came on the podcast and we talked about this move a bit, and I think the logic is sound. I totally understand the like, we're right now a big fish in a small pond and we want to be a big fish in a big pond. Mm-hmm. And if you want liquidity and you want growth in your community, and as new people enter the world of NFTs, you want them buying your project, ETH is the place to be. The scaling issues you're bringing up with Polygon are interesting. I've heard other people talking about that, of like other projects who are big talking about why they decided not to go with Polygon and concerns there. Do you know where we are in the journey of Polygon moving from a side chain to a full layer 2?
I have no idea.
Because that's like been a thing, and maybe it's already happened. And of course there's all this like, you know, stuff out there of like Polygon saying we're the first EVM chain, and other layer 2 saying they're the first EVM. I don't know. I get very lost in some of those wars that are going on.
Me too.
And so, but I wonder to what extent that will help. You know, certainly compared to where they were, for example, during the Zed Run era. You mentioned, of course, the grants that Polygon gives, which they do very well. This is, you know, kind of a big part of this Utes story, is that Utes will be getting a grant for Polygon. There's speculation. I don't know how confirmed or not this is, but it seems like the Utes treasury more so or than the DeGods treasury was being kept in Sol. And when FTX went down and Sol collapsed, you know, that was hard on the Utes treasury. And so I do wonder to what extent the splitting between ETH and Polygon is partly that this Polygon grant, which I don't think we have a confirmed amount yet on that, but like for Utes is a really helpful kind of lifeboat for a project that was down on treasury. Again, I don't want to like state all this as facts, because I think but I've had it from people that I somewhat trust that may have been partly what was going on. And then also Utes and DeGods, different projects, different goals, the you know, more high volume, whatever stuff on Polygon with low gas. It makes sense. I think it's great. I'm a Frank fan. I think he has a very particular skill set. He's got the Logan Paul skill set, but has not yet proven himself to be willing to really sell his soul, in my opinion, in the way that like a Logan Paul will at times. Again,
that's a good way of putting it.
But you know, like, but ability to just like get attention, create hype, create FOMO.
You can hustle,
seem like a cool bro. Hustle like crazy, just like out there, and hustle in a way that's also like you can make content hustling. Like you can just make content around all the things you're doing and make it interesting. So, cool. Okay, while we're on Solana, or having left Solana, and I guess while we're talking about Frank, because he's connected to the story, Bonk. Have you been following Bonk? The story of Bonk?
I have a little bit. Obviously, you can't be on Twitter and not see Bonk everywhere. It's a meme coin on Solana. I believe it was initially like airdropped to a bunch of projects or something like that. And then
like 50% of the token was airdropped to Solana ecosystem participants, notably not Utes or DeGods participants.
And then people have just come up with all sorts of fun meme use cases for like the one I've seen the most is like there's this website where you can like have like, I think it's like I can't remember what animal it is, but like literally just bonking SBF on the head with like a baseball bat or something, and you pay like one bonk to do it, and they're like trying to get people, let's get to 10,000, or I don't know exactly the tokenomics, but it's like fun stuff like that. And then new projects are launching and they're saying, hey, we're gonna, you know, accept bonk and burn 10% of it, or like the whole community is rallying around.
A billion bonk has already been burned. More than that at this point. There was, I know, a tweet, or a billion bonk was burned in a day. There was something like, I mean, they're doing things to get it burned.
Don't bet against memes.
It's the first. It's true. It's the first like dog coin was what they were marketing it as. So they were like, we're the Shiba Inu of Solana. I mean, part of me feels like Solana has just taken such a beating this past 5 months. Obviously, FTX, huge beating. token price collapses, their biggest project is leaving to go to ETH, but they have such a strong community. And so I think they needed something to really rally around and to bring some fun and life back into what they're doing. And I think Bonk provided that.
Goblin Town, when we're in a terrible bear market in ETH, and then everyone just had fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's a great comparison. And it's even breathing a little bit of life back into Sol, where the Sol price, was kind of going up a bit and tracking along Bonk in parallel. So, and it's Bonk's still up. This is not this. It launched on December 25th, and it's not going anywhere. It's down a little bit from its all-time high, but it's still way up from where it was.
Yeah.
And look, I like people having fun so long as they're being responsible. I feel like everybody has hopefully learned their lesson in the bear market and isn't dumping their life savings into these shitcoin things.
Yeah.
And if it's just a fun thing, I'm into it. Speaking of price, we didn't mention this above, but just in terms of how the market seems to be reacting to the Utes DeGods decision to move off of Solana, I think it was initially kind of certainly negative amongst holders, and the price for DeGods Utes plummeted and then fairly quickly started to recover as I think folks really understood what this was going to be and realized all right, this actually is probably a win for us. And now it's hitting all-time highs again, whatever. So congrats to the people who got in at the right moment, leveraged that moment of FUD, and are now riding the highs. I guess a couple final things before we wrap here. It's a shorter one this week. There's one that I'm really excited about, which is this thing Visa's doing. Have you been tracking the Visa self-custody wallet auto payment thing?
I saw the news, and it was huge because Visa is obviously massive in the world. And when they say that they're doing something with crypto, when they bought a CryptoPunk, I don't know, 18 months ago or something, it was a big event.
Well, and that was such a moment because I remember it being this unlock for people. People were talking about suddenly marketing budgets also potentially being assets, right? That marketing budgets have historically always been extracted from a company who spend money on marketing, but suddenly then buying a CryptoPunk was something that was actually a long-term asset that could go up.
Yeah.
It was just an interesting shift in the way that typical corporate governance structures, whatever kind of existed. So anyways, but continue.
Yeah. So that was the first, it reminded me of that a bit, and I didn't look into the details too much. I saw the reaction and reception, and I think a lot of it was excitement because a company like Visa is saying they're integrating crypto in some way. It's kind of bullish, but then there was some pushback about how the whole point of crypto is to get away from, these centralized entities. And it's that whole, maximalist versus non-pension.
The age-old debate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited about it. My understanding is that Visa held a hackathon or something, and the task, I don't know if this was the only task as part of this hackathon, but one of the prompts was create a way for ETH holders to make a payment for some date in the future. If they knew they were going to be out of town, if you knew you weren't going to have access to internet, how could you still make a payment? And so somebody has within their team and as part of this hackathon built a program or a way to make auto payments out of a self-custody wallet, so that you could say, hey, make sure that on January 5th, this payment to this contractor or this payment I owe to a vendor or whatever is unlocked and goes out, even if I'm not at my computer at that moment, manually making sure it happens. And I love everything where it feels like we're using blockchain to mirror all the many financial primitives that we have and are used to in our regular financial lives. And I think that's a completely necessary ingredient for crypto becoming what we all want crypto to become. And so things like this, the infrastructure for that is exciting to me anyway. And I find it more exciting that it's something like a Visa who is prompting hackathon teams to come up with, because they're taking it that seriously.
Yeah.
I think that's really exciting.
100%. I think more real world use cases of crypto and blockchain and having it improve people's lives is the end goal.
Actually, as we're talking about this, I want to read a line that I loved, a couple sentences from Bank of America's crypto report, crypto update. I was so impressed by it. It was pretty on the mark. It starts out talking about how FTX was bad for the reputation of things, but hasn't really cryptos and digital assets aren't going anywhere. And, they say we need regulation to bring in more institutional players. They didn't make any prescriptions about what that regulation should be. They talked about how we need to distinguish between CeFi and DeFi. It was on point. And then there's a line here that I want to read that I thought was very fun. Many blockchains are less than 3 years old, not 14 years old, and applications are even more nascent, primarily because the underlying blockchains that host these applications needed to be developed first. If you're only focused on Bitcoin, you're missing the bigger picture. If you're only focused on digital assets as a payment method, you're missing the bigger picture. And if you're still conflating digital assets with illicit activity, CR 126 report, and criminality, CR 229 report, you're either stuck in 2011 when Silk Road was founded, or you're not even attempting to understand the bigger picture.
Wow.
Which I was like, that was fun. It's a little sassy. It's
like
completely on the money.
People. Yeah.
I know. I love it. I'm like wondering what intern was tasked with writing this and just scolding all of the C-suite execs on his way out the door. That's like the vibe I got. I mean, I joke. I think this is probably a more serious person at Bank of America who does genuinely get it. But Bank of America, you blocked my bank account last year when I was trying to buy my gift goat V-Friend. And I will never forgive you because I lost out on a gift goat and it's all your fault. I had to go to like the branch down here and be like, no, yes, I did want to transfer $20,000 to crypto to buy a gift goat.
Yeah.
My banker was like, please go see our counselor in the other room. Anyway, I'm excited about that. And then some last updates here. Grail Season 3 is live. Some new mint mechanics.
Exciting. Yeah.
Always exciting. And as you said, we also have more Jimmy the Monkey stuff coming this month. Mm-hmm. Doodles 2 or Duplicators? One of the big Doodles things. Yeah. Duplicators coming this month, supposedly. Yeah. And I guess let's close with what are you most excited for either this month or this year in this moment, Seneca?
I mean, I'm most excited for, I guess this month is like just this bull rally because it's been a long time since there's been like excitement in the NFT space. And it just, the energy, like you said before, is like palpable. So that's fun. And I'm excited. I don't have any delusions that this is going to be like we're going to hit new all-time highs or anything like that. Macro is so different, but it's just fun to have a rally. So I'm just soaking that in. This year, I'm excited for like more real world use cases. And so the Visa thing, is a really great example, and just like Starbucks rewards, and just seeing how I think a lot of existing NFT projects are now like bridging that world as well. So I think that's going to be big this year. Yeah,
love it. Seneca, thank you as always. 2023, here we are. Nothing's changed. You'll be with us twice a month for now, unless I fundamentally change the structure of this show in some way to get sponsors. But we will see you in a couple weeks. Thanks, everyone. Happy weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Overpriced JPEGs. If you liked this conversation, if you liked this episode, please go ahead and hit subscribe. It helps me out, it helps the show out, and it means you will get alerts and updates when we post new content. Thanks again.